Tell me your name and where you're from.
My full name is Margaret Daily, but I go by Margaret Alexander Daly because Alexander is my maiden name. And so I sort of kept the Daly for the sake of the children. Yeah. And I live in Great Bar, and I've lived in Great Bar since 1988 at the same address. Have not moved. And I love where I live, yeah. And I'm from Jamaica, the district of St. Anne's, in a little area called Tracy, yeah. I say to people that everybody in Tracy, I think everybody is family, so if you need to find a partner, go out of Tracy.
Tell me about your childhood.
Okay, there was, we come from quite a large family, really. My mom comes from a really large family, and my dad was only a family of three. And so with my mom's side of the family, there was I've got loads of uncles and more uncles and aunties, loads of cousins. They're all over the place, just absolutely loads of it. And if we were to come together, oh my goodness, there's tons of us. So there was that side, and there was my dad, liquor side. My dad didn't know his father, so my dad was brought up with his stepdad, a stepbrother and a stepsister. And my dad, his mom died when daddy was only 7 years old when his mom died, so I never knew my grandma on that side, yeah. And then my granddad on mommy's side died in his 50s. I knew a bit about granddad and spent a little bit of time with granddad. Grandma died not long after either, so both my grandparents on my mom's side died quite young, really. And as I said, I didn't know my dad's mom and his dad. I'm told that his dad came from Cuba. Yeah, so daddy never knew his dad either, so he was brought up with a stepfather.
Tell me about your family. How many siblings do you have?
In Jamaica, there was 5 of us. I had, there was myself, my sister. I had a sister that died at 3 months old, so I never knew, her name was Pansy, never knew Pansy. So there was, there would have been 3 girls, but Pansy died. And then I had 3 brothers in Jamaica. So there would have been 6 of us. One died, leaving 5. And that was the Jamaica side. And then when Mom came here, we had another 4. That makes 9. So there's 9 of us, quite a huge family. 2 of my brothers, unfortunately, have passed away, and so there's 7 of us left. Yeah.
Being in Jamaica, what was that like?
It was actually quite fun, and I was talking to my brother a few days back, who came to England when he was 11, and he was saying, those 11 years of my life were the best years of my life, being in Jamaica. And for us, it was fun. We were sort of a family that you could say we were, I don't know, we weren't stuck up, but we weren't bad off really, because my mom's parents were quite well off, and even though my uncle George, who's passed away now, said, "Oh, the kids just squandered granddad's money away, and so that's why you guys didn't get any." But it was actually quite nice, and we were quite well off. Mommy, prior to coming to England, had people doing stuff for her. So people would come in and do the washing, the cooking, they would do the cleaning. There was somebody there doing the yard and stuff like that. So we didn't have to do none of that. And so when Mommy came to England, we had the shock of our life.
Let's go back to that. You were quite middle class.
I guess so. I guess so, because we hear people talk about all the stuff that they had to do and the cleaning the house and stuff like that. But we didn't have to do any of that. We were spoilt. We were a spoilt bunch of kids, yeah. And at least for the first 11 and a half years of my life, I would say we were spoilt, yeah.
So you're in Tracy, one of 5 siblings. What was school like?
School was good because for me, I started school at about 3 years old. We used to call it ABC school. And so we started there and then just gradually moved on. So for me, I was actually quite bright in Jamaica. And I think I sort of got a little bit left behind when I actually came to England. For me, the education was better out there. And so I was at school until I came here at 12. I don't feel like when I came here that I learned very much more than what I'd learned up until the age of 12.
That's interesting to hear about the difference in standards of education. So what happened next?
Dad came to the UK 1960. And like we know, they all came for 5 years. Yeah, we were blessed that Dad actually came back after 5 years. He came back and he spent nearly a year back in Jamaica, and then that's when Mom came back with him after that time. And so that's how we sort of ended up going to live with my granddad, who was my dad's stepfather. So that's who we lived with because we had no grandmothers. Yeah, they died, so we had no grandmothers. Our aunties, one of them were quite poorly. She had mental health problem, so we couldn't stay with Auntie Gladys. Auntie Rose had got her hands full of her own children, so we couldn't stay with Auntie Rose. So it was Granddad that we had to live with. When Dad came back, and then we thought Dad was going to be back for good. We thought that was going to be it. And then the next thing, there was like a family meeting with the older ones. And Mom saying, I'm going back to England with your dad. And it was like, so what's going to happen to us? So we sort of really had the shock of our life then. It was like, what was going to happen to us? And me being the oldest, the responsibility was mine, that you were going to look after your siblings and make sure you were going to live with Granddad. You were going to be the woman of the house, and you were going to look after your siblings. And it was okay.
How many years was that for?
Thank God it was not for long, because as I said, we had a great father. Daddy was, and I don't know. I've been thinking about this. How did Daddy do it? Because he brought Mum back. They came back on the ship, and then we went to live with Granddad. I can't even remember, and I've been thinking about. I can't even remember the day that they left. I can't remember it because I think we went to live with Granddad before they actually left. So they settled us in, and then the next thing, they weren't here. They were gone. And so it was like, okay, you're going to go and look after your siblings. My brother, who was 11, he was just so independent. He was just everywhere, couldn't be found half the time. Yeah, so it was like myself and my sister, who was 8. And so it was like the younger one, who was only 6, was my responsibility. And Mom would say, he is your responsibility. He's a baby. You need to look after him. Yeah. And then my other brother, who was 8, Calvin was 7, because Mom had one after another. Every year there was one of us. So, yeah. So the other one, who was 7, my 8-year-old sister, was told, he is your responsibility, so you look after him. So those two were like really twins. They're like close because they looked after each other. But it wasn't for long, thankfully. because Mum and Dad came back in 1966. My brother, who is 11, because he was so wayward and all over the place, they thought we better take him quick. And from what I'm hearing, from what Mum and Dad are saying, somebody actually wrote to Dad that there was a family in the district who, again, we were quite close to. And I think they were the ones who looked after us, who looked out for us, the Campbells. They looked out for us. And so I feel that it was one of them who wrote to Mum and Dad, because they were the only one who had contact, and say, you need to take Zed. That's what we called him. Otherwise, he's going to get run over or something, because every truck that went past, he would hop on the truck, he would run after the truck. And so they took him. And I don't know how they did it, because they took him in exactly the same year that they came up in 1966.
So you travelled to England with how many siblings, and what was the year?
I came here in 1967. And that's what I'm saying. It's amazing, because they took my brother in 1966. In 1967, they took myself and my baby brother, the two of us, in 1967. Yeah. And in 1968, they took the other two. Yeah. I don't know how they did it, but they did. Dad, I'm told, worked 2 jobs, and Mum worked when she came. And they did it. Yeah. In a short space of time, we were all together again.
How did you come to the UK?
We came by plane. Yeah. Yeah. Mum and Dad came back by ship. We came by plane, because, like, Mum and Dad, before they left Jamaica, they'd actually set up for this this woman who dealt with children coming to England. They'd actually set up for this to sort out all our papers and everything else. So she was already dealing with all of that. So we came by plane. And I was trying to work out how much it must have cost them. It probably cost them about 45, 50 pounds each for each child to come. So we came to, I think it was Gatwick Airport that we came to. And Mum and Dad met us there. And as we were driving down, it was like, what is this? What is this? They bought us these coats to put on, because it was like September time when we got here, a bit chilly, so they bought us coat. And it was like, Mom, why is there so many factories? And she was saying, they're not factories, they're the houses. I said, houses? Are we going to live in those? And she said, yes, they're the houses. The smoke are coming out because they have to heat the houses to keep them warm. So gone was the sunshine. So that was like, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget. And I say that to my children. I share it with my children about all the factories and they were all joined up together. Now in Jamaica, you'd have your house, you'd have your big property, your land to run around in, and you come and all the houses are joined up together. Wow.
So where in the West Midlands did you come to?
I got here at 12 and a half, because I believe that the cutoff age was 13 at the time. So if they didn't take me before I was 13, then they would have problems getting me here. And so the plan originally was that I was going to be first, but because my brother was getting into so much problems, he had to be first. So I got here, I was 12 and a half years old when I got here in September 1967. Yeah, when I got here. We came to live in West Bromwich, in Beaches Road, West Bromwich. We came to live. When Mum came up, they lived at Oxford Street, West Bromwich, which was where my uncle, my dad's stepbrother lived. And a 3-bedroom house with about 5 families in there, because there was a 3-bedroom, the dining room, and Mum and Dad lived in the front room. Yeah, but we came to Beaches Road, where they'd rented 2 rooms up in the attic, and that's where we lived.
That must have been a big culture shock.
We had a beautiful house. It was built specially for us. It was lovely. And there we come to this country in a 2-bedroom up in the attic. Mum shared one, and the rest of the kids, we all shared the other bedroom.
How did that make you feel?
Oh, it was really, I don't know, I can't even describe the feeling, because like in Jamaica, us girls had our own room and the boys had their own room. Here we was, girls and boys all sharing one room. And it was just crazy. It was not nice. It was, my brother especially said, he kept and said, I want to go home. I want to go back. I don't want to stay here. And so it really was not nice. You're coming from somewhere where you've got like loads of space, yeah? Loads of land to run around. Here you were trapped in 2 rooms because there was nowhere to go out and run around.